As a photographer, although in a hobbyist capacity, I often think about how I want to share my images, whether it be on social media like Instagram, or perhaps on the wall, maybe even someday in a zine or a book. It's just something that sometimes weighs on my mind, maybe impacts what I take photos of, and I think that can be compounded when one considers their own mortality, not to get too dark. But after you shuffle off this mortal coil, as they say, you might think about just where you want your images, where your negatives to go, who you want them to be seen by, and just there's a whole lot to it. And this is not something I had thought about much really for a long time until recently, when I purchased a darkroom from the estate of a recently deceased photographer. This photographer, his name was Gary. Probably shouldn't get into further detail just for privacy reasons, but in any case, he was a photographer mainly based out of the Bay Area in California. Took a lot of photos between the 1970s all the way up until the 2010s, and he passed away without much family, immediate family in the area. And a lot of his darkroom equipment, his photo equipment, as well as his negatives and prints all fell to the home flipper who bought his property afterwards. So this home flipper, he puts up an ad on Craigslist, kind of vague, just, darkroom for sale, old photo equipment. And immediately I'm pretty interested. I go and check it out, and there's a lot of expired film, which I'm excited about, 120, 4x5, 35 millimeter. There are a lot of just miscellaneous accessories for cameras, not many cameras, and then also darkroom equipment. So I was pretty happy to come across this whole plethora of equipment, and I send the guy a nice, generous offer. And what came with this pile as well was quite a few negatives and prints of Gary, the photographer. So I was left with a choice, take these negatives, take these prints, or literally they will go straight into the dumpster, because the home flipper, you literally had the dumpster right next to the darkroom. So it's pretty obvious what was gonna happen with them. So I take them, there's a lot of considerations when you're taking other people's negatives. Perhaps if the next family wants them, there's a whole plethora of copyright issues that, I wouldn't be an expert, so I'm not gonna get into it. So in any case, I contact the family. They know, okay, I have the negatives, I have all that stuff. And really the main thing they want is perhaps negatives and images that belong to the family, private family images that Gary took. So I send those off to the family, and now here I am with thousands and thousands of negatives. So what do? Well, I scan them all, I've shared them on my Instagram, and now I've pretty much got it all sorted through now. This guy's work was absolutely fantastic. 35 millimeter, 120, large format, all across the board, just amazing landscapes, a lot of photojournalism work, a lot of sports photography, a lot of everything. Really just have the utmost respect for this photographer and his ability. So that brings us to the crux of this video, and that is this box of Tri-X with exposed written across it. So if you've seen my previous video, you know that I am always excited to develop some film that's been shot in the past by someone else. So here we are in another scenario. We have 20 sheets of 4x5 Tri-X to develop. And fortunately, I have a Jobo set up so I can do 8 to 10 at a time, really easy to get through. So loading these sheets into the 10 sheet tank is quite easy. Jobo did a really good job having things pretty streamlined and easy, even for a less experienced user of the system like myself. From there, I'm able to pretty much let the agitation system do all the work for me. It's a little bit of a pain figuring out the correct amount of developer needed, because there's a lot of considerations that take into place. I'm not going to get into that. In any case, it was a good chance to really fine-tune my skills with the system by developing this film, and it took a little while to get through it all, but way less work than hand agitating. So after getting them developed, fixed, washed, then I just had to put on the photo flow pretty easy, got them hung up in the shower like most people do, and I waited for the results. After letting them dry, I was pretty excited to see the final product. Quite a few awesome images, pretty visible images. You had quite a few of this rock formation. I believe that's in Eastern Sierras or Mojave Desert. I'm not entirely sure. If someone is familiar with this rock formation, I'd be more than happy to hear what it is, because I have no idea. I tried looking. And then you also have some wonderful images of Yosemite. This one in particular from tunnel view is quite nice, as well as this image of a jet fighter, I believe. Perhaps it's at a airplane museum or something of that sort, but pretty awesome images, and they turned out pretty well. They've probably been, the latent image has probably been sitting for at least 10 to 15 years. I even found some 120 rolls not too long before doing all this, and I developed those as well. Those turned out pretty well, and some of them must have been taken at the same time, because here we have some images of Yosemite in color. Those, you know, the latent image didn't hold up so well. And then after that, you have some 120 black and white images, almost like a behind the scenes here. You can see the 4x5 setup here. You have this old car here. So there we have a successful bout of developing this found 4x5 film, 20 sheets in all, as well as this 120 film, both black and white and C41. So maybe we should circle back around to mortality as a photographer, how you want your images to be seen. Looking through Gary's prints, through his negatives, it's easy to tell he was proud of his work, and he really enjoyed sharing these images either at competitions or pretty much any way possible. He took a lot of photos that have inspired me, and just going through his whole process, seeing the outtakes, seeing the highs, seeing the lows, really put things into perspective for me, for my own photos, how I want them to be seen, and perhaps just what direction I want to go in. I hope this video puts things a little more into perspective for you fellow photographers, as in how you want your images to be shared. You know, some people want their images to be seen by everybody. Some people don't want a single negative to be seen by the public, and that's totally acceptable as well, of course. But in any case, here's a few more images taken by Gary that I think you guys will enjoy.